What makes you happy?
Be yourself positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast. We need a paradigm shift if it comes to our economic and social systems. Let us drive this change together. The Just Another Mindset podcast shares inspiration and tangible techniques on how to create seismic shifts in an outdated system, collectively and for individuals alike. My name is Ismail, and each week I bring to you a relevant conversation, message, or theme that will not only entertain you, but help you to change towards a more meaningful and satisfying life. Get encouraged by listening to successful thought leaders, inspiring individuals, and impressive changemakers. Change from within will last and create positive results for all of us. Let us get inspired and embrace collective changes for the better. Before introducing our guest Hampus, I want to acknowledge that this episode is a very special one for multiple reasons. First of all, the episode was recorded in fall 2023, and it is being published much later due to the fact that I went on a break from the podcast. Unfortunately, the recording did not get published before this break, and I'm even more excited to share this episode with you today. In the meantime, Hampus became a dear friend of mine, and I'm super excited to share this conversation with you today, as it still stands so true. Another reason why this conversation is unique is the fact that Ängsbacka most certainly had a very transformative effect on my own life, and it feels very intimate and beautiful to share this conversation which, amongst other things, talks about this lovely and powerful community in Sweden and what it can do to people's lives. In this heartfelt episode, we dive deep into a story of transformation, community, and the search for a meaningful life. Hampus shares his journey from a traditional Swedish upbringing and a successful career in business to embracing inner transformation and becoming a community leader at one of Europe's most unique intentional living spaces. You'll hear about the magic of Ängsbacka, reflections on modern childhood, community parenting, what it means to live authentically, and why inner transformation is inseparable from global change. We talk about personal change, psychedelics, yoga, meditation, and more. And we further discuss how to invite fear, joy, sorrow, and everything else in between into your life. This episode is about trusting life, the power of presence, and the courage to live truthfully for yourself and others. Wonderful. And with that, Hampus, a warm welcome to the Just Another Mindset podcast. And my first question for you today is, how do you feel and what is on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just excited to be talking to you again, So I look forward to just a time where there's no responsibility on my shoulder, where I can just enjoy a good conversation. That's where I'm at.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And indeed, I'm also very much excited for our conversation. I believe our last conversation is roughly 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. And in fact, we met throughout this summer in Ängsbacka, in a place in Sweden, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time of our conversation, I suppose, also talking about Ängsbacka and why it's such a special place and such an important place in your life, in my life, and so forth. But Hampus, before we go into all those details, I would be also very interested understanding a little bit and giving maybe also a little bit of context for our listeners about your life, let's call it pre-Ängsbacka. And a question that came to mind for me is, which role did spirituality and community play in your upbringing?
Not much at all, I would say. I come from a very classic Swedish home, and neither of my parents were pretty secularized, atheists. So they neither had like the connection to like God in that sense, or religion, or the more secularized spirituality aspect. And neither, not community either. Very little is is the very brief answer.
And you talk about atheism in Sweden, and I believe that Sweden is one of the countries where atheism is actually very common, let's just say. Is that a true statement? Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's very, very true. It's
Mhm.
you're it's pretty surprising when you meet someone that actually is religious in that sense, outspoken religious in Sweden. So yeah, I
Mm.
would say that's very true.
And is that true for urban populations and rural populations alike?
Yeah, in general, yes. There's a few like areas in Sweden where there's more religion that is still kind of uh, like zones that is more religious than others. More
Mm.
rural, but also some like half large cities that
Mm.
still has like a stronghold of religious
Mm.
people. But in
Mm.
general, over like from north to south of Sweden, it's pretty much the same.
Hampus, you talked about a somewhat typical Swedish upbringing. How may that look like? How can our audience who may not be Scandinavian or Swedish, how can people picture that? What is it that you remember from, yeah, growing up, from playing maybe outdoors? What role did nature play and so forth?
That's what a nice question. Like I just felt myself strolling down memory lane back to my childhood now. I mean, some of the I would assume the stereotypes might be confirmed now. Like we grew up in a house on a it was like a cul-de-sac road. So it was very like it was in Gothenburg, so the second largest
Mm.
city in Sweden. So like a million city, so still a big city, but very safe. So like there was no through traffic. We had a large quantity of forest just behind our house. So there
Mm.
was literally a meter straight into the forest. And I remember just the doors were just open and we just ran around. Like we just played. And when I was a kid, there was no phones. I
Mm.
remember when like
Mm.
Nintendo and Game Boy came out, like that was like, oh my God, we got to play that like an hour or two every week. But the rest of the time, we literally just ran around in the forest and we got lost all the time. And we had to like find our way back. And sometimes it took an hour, sometimes it took a few hours, and you got a little bit scared. And I remember just there is no safety net as we see it today. Like I have two small kids, and the way we approach it, I'm like, we have to have control and security all the time, safety thoughts. Like a lot of the older kids in my vicinity, they have these watches where they're GPS tracked by their parents. But I
Wow.
just remember when I grew up, it was like there was no cell phones. You
Mm.
you asked your mom if you could call a friend on like this, phone,
Mm.
and it's like, and their parents answered, it's like, oh, is this person home? I want to play. It's like, no, they're out. I'm like, okay. And then you had to like find them. It's like, okay, I'll try the schoolyard, I'll try the playground, maybe that tree in the forest where we usually have this little thing. Like it was just like, yeah, another time. It was like super safe.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
that my upbringing and classic Swedish upbringing is just very, very held. Like we don't have any dangerous animals. Like the most
Mm.
dangerous animal we essentially have that you're afraid of is a tick, because you might get like a disease. So it's like it's just safe, just very safe,
Mm.
very like yeah, common. Dad worked a lot. My mom was home more, but they both worked the entire upbringing. So we spent a lot of
Mm.
time at the preschool. Yeah, no, it was great times actually. Yeah, very very nice upbringing.
Certainly does sound like, and it brings back my memories as well. As you said, like I also remember going to a friend's house, knocking on the door, asking, hey, is Tim or is whomever home? And they're like, no, they're not home. So you go to the next friend, or you check the sports ground, you go all that, right? Everything before cell phones. And yeah, what you described is it was a naturally safe space, and now it's a controlled, somewhat artificial safe space. But another question that popped up in my mind, I don't know if you even have an answer for that, but Hampus, did you have any favorite game that you played when you were a boy or when you grew up? Is there something that comes to mind? Is there something that you remember from back then?
Yes, we we used to like. I remember it vividly. I like one of my best like childhood memories. That is like I can probably play back like half hour. It's like me and a friend, and we did this quite a lot. We went on like an adventure. So you like picked up like a stick, and then you pretended to be like an adventurer in like some fairyland. And you just went out to the forest and like hid behind trees, and then you went fencing with another tree, and you had a rock and like yeah, it was this like look it was pre Lord of the Rings, but it felt like Frodo, you know, like we did this type of like excursions, and I remember being completely swept away in fantasy. There was nothing for so long. It was just pure in the moment presence and just having like I probably played up majority of this like the human emotions. Like you got scared, you got excited, you got joyful after you won a battle. And it was just like this, yeah, it was just like so pure and so such depth, you know, just being like 7 or whatever, just you needed nothing but your own fantasy, like a stick and a stone and a forest, and then you're like in heaven for as long as you want. Yeah, it was yeah, I see it in front of me, and it's almost like the emotions are coming back. It's such a strong memory. Thank you for bringing that back.
That's so beautiful hearing you talking about that and also looking at you. I can see really that those emotions that you can tap back into them. And yeah, I think you touch on so much of that, right? The fantasy, the imagination, the presence that it creates. And I'm sure that this is something that we may also talk about in a bit or in a bit later. And then Hampus, I would be also very interested because you also, from your, let's call it traditional upbringing and very safe upbringing in Sweden, you have a very strong background in business and you worked in different roles, including being general manager for internationally very well-known companies. And I would be very interested, what is it that made you initially join or pursue a career in business? Why did you want to study business? Why did you want to go and get into business?
I don't think I didn't think I had a plan. I think it just happened. You know, my dad was like a finance director, and I'm a person that I'm pretty happy and content in any setting, really. I'm like a chameleon in many ways. Like I go well with most types of people, and I have always. So I've always been like content, and therefore I think this is like a post analysis, I guess, of it. But I never really had to like strongly, okay, I need to go this route to be happy. I kind of just sailed with the wind. And it just became pretty like I could see it happening. I followed my father's footsteps just by default. Okay, I don't know what to study. I'll study economy, you know. And then after I've studied economy at high school, okay, I want to travel a little bit. I traveled, then okay, I should go to university because that's what you do. Didn't think so much about it. Had good grades, could pick pretty much. Okay, I'll study marketing, I'll study economy, and also some social sciences. So, and then what job to get? I don't know. And then like a friend just like, oh, the bank is always a good option. All right, I'll start working at a bank. Then a friend came along. Oh, you should become a work in procurement at Volvo, where I work. You'd be perfect for that. You love negotiation. You're good with people. You're good with numbers. I'm like, all right, I'll try it. Went to an interview, got the job. And that's kind of like my life. It just kind of happened very easily. Like I didn't have to work for anything. I never had like a strong goal. Like I want to become a doctor, and I'm ready to spend the 7 years. You know, it's like some of my friends did. They traveled down to Hungary, and you know, just like I'm going to put 7 years of my life in to become a doctor, and then I'll have it. Well, you know, I didn't take things too seriously. I never had. So it kind of just happened, I guess.
Interesting. And I think that's also a very important perspective and yeah, recall in a way, right? Not everything in business happens because you plan for it from kindergarten. It can also just you go one step at a time, and as you make sure that you stay happy, that you stay content, that you can just walk through business in a way as well. And at the same time, Hampus, I would be very interested because you said you don't really have a spiritual and community like upbringing, and then now you followed the footsteps of your dad in a way, and you went into banking and you went into the car industry. And at some point, nevertheless, your natural decision-making processes brought you to pivot in a way or change something about your life. And I would be very interested, is there a big why, or is there a when? Is there something that you can talk to us about when we talk about Ängsbacka? When did you take the decision to maybe leave this path where you've been happy and content for quite some time? And what is it that drew you to a place like Ängsbacka?
There's many ways to answer that question. You can create these post-constructed narratives that it was one big moment where it all happened. And, that's a great story. But I think the truth lies more in that it's an organic change over a course of a long time. Of course, I can point out big milestone actions or changes, but I think it started around, I think early, when maybe around like 13, 14, 15, I was very interested in like optimizing my own physical health.
Okay.
That was the starting point. I got really curious about diet, ways of making my body stronger. I think that was the starting point of this personal development kind of like quest. So that started pretty early, and then I have a lot to thank to one of my dear friends who was pretty early into the more spiritual aspects of life, and he was kind of the one that brought me in. I remember like these points when I was like 17 or somewhere around that, where he did things a bit differently. He saw things a bit differently. So like our conversations, I was always a little bit, okay, you can actually look at it that way. And we tried a lot of things, together, like, tried marijuana for the first time, and that was new experience. And we tried this, like he was like a door opener for me. So I think when that started, that opened something in me, like a curiosity of, wait, maybe things aren't exactly the way I thought they have been. There might be other ways of looking, experiencing life. So I think that was also like one of the pivotal points. And then around 25, I also think is like a milestone where I have a group of friends that I'm still friends with today. We started hanging out when we were like 6, 7, playing football together from the same area, and we're still a group of like 10 that's still really tight friends. And I'm almost 40. That group has developed like an organism also. So everyone kind of moved together, which is a really interesting phenomenon. Wow. I think not a lot of my other like friends or acquaintances have this, but one of the guys, he was working at Volvo as an engineer, and he was dreading it. He was absolutely dreading his life. Like every morning waking up, I have to go to 8 hours to this job that I hate, sitting just like drawing in CAD all day. So he started listening to Alan Watts a lot during when he was working. And then eventually he made a decision, like, I'm quitting. I'm traveling to Peru. And then he came back, and he had done ayahuasca, and he told us about the experience, and he was literally a changed man. And then you could see that this like group of 10 people, after 6 months, another guy jumped out from the squirrel wheel, and then another guy. And then so it was just like this organic change as a larger organism of individuals that were very tight knit. But I was always happy. Like I said before, like I'm this content person. I loved my life. I did a great career, and I barely like felt like I didn't really try. It just kind of like I'm having conversations, I'm negotiating, I'm doing this. Like I love interacting with people. It comes pretty easily for me, natural. So, but the whole movement was still going in one direction. So I think it was when I was 27, a group of us, 5 of us, went to Peru and did plant medicine. And that did change things. We started experimenting with psychedelica, started doing yoga, did a lot of Ashtanga yoga, and almost a few times a week, and started meditating. So like adding new things into my routine of life. And to this day, I still like have yoga and meditation as core practices, I think, of my life. So it kind of went like this, just moved in that direction, and then it ended up being, okay, I have my main interest and all my spare time I pretty much put towards like forests, self-discovery, curiosity with new things, how I can relate to other people or the nature or myself in different ways. Like that was pretty much my interest. And then I still had so that's one leg in that world. And then I had the other leg in the, oh, I'm a CEO for this company, or I'm a general manager for this company. So I was kind of living I guess a double life. And I did attempts to bring in as much of the things that I felt was true into the corporate world of my situation there. For instance, this company that I was general manager for, there was 60 employees. I had the strong intention and really tried to like, okay, I'm not really interested in creating profitability and making sure that this super rich American becomes a little bit richer. That wasn't my reason for coming to work every day. It was more, what can I do for these 60 people to make their lives more interesting? Can I make them grow? Can I make them see things differently? Like, can I spread joy? Can I spread love? So I kind of carved out spaces within the corporate world setting that aligned to where I was in my life and how I saw life. I think that's my capacity of carving out these narratives that align was the reason why I stayed so long in that environment, despite I'm actually not, I'm like anti-capitalist, if anything. Like I don't believe in, like I hate buying stuff. Like I'm a non-materialist, but I could still be in that setting and function very well. So it's, I think there was for many years this kind of deep disconnect, but I managed to find narratives to still make it work in my head. But then there came a time where I was, okay, now actually I want out completely. And then I didn't know what to do when I just jumped out from that world, and I had no plan. For the first time in my life, because I always did something, and then someone asked me, hey, come do this. I'm like, okay. So I always did something. But that was the first time when I was like 34, maybe. I think it was 3-4 years ago, where I kind of, okay, I'm going to step out and create space. Will actually come into that space naturally, rather than kind of just like not pursuing it, but not forcing it, but something more in that sense. So that was a big milestone as well, where I actually took that leap of, let's create space, see what grows into that empty space.
How scary was it to take that leap and to jump out of this known and also an atmosphere or like life where you felt happy and content, but it sounds like felt that something had to be changed anyways, because you were still living those double lives or two lives? Like, how difficult of a choice was it for you to say, okay, I follow and now you can enter the blank, your gut feeling, your heart feeling, your whatsoever?
It wasn't hard at all, actually, for a few reasons. One, I think it was long overdue. Okay. I was very mature. That decision had already been made. It just had to be actualized. Yeah. So if I had done it earlier, I think it would have been more of a leap. But now it felt like I was actually like both feet on the ground. I just had to start walking. That's one aspect. The other one, that it was also, I think the universe in itself helped me, because COVID hit, and there was a lot of pressure to be a general manager for a profit-seeking organization like that. That is essentially a Fortune 500 like company, and the pressure just amounted to almost like a conflict of priorities between me and my manager at the time. It was the European general manager, where, okay, now we need to work like our entire days. We need to salvage this ship now. Like we're under fire. Let's get together and like put everything we have into this. And I have small children. I'm not ready to sacrifice that to do that. So it, like, the universe presented a conflict where it became very, okay, you need to make a decision now. Either you stay a present father, or you just devote your life to this corporate task. And it became pretty evident to me that I'm going to go this way, So I think it was both those aspects, predominantly, that made it very easy. And I think the third aspect is that, again, I'm so far in life, at least, I find myself very at ease in any situation. So I wasn't scared of not having things to do. Like, oh wow, I can meditate, I can do yoga, I can hang out with my kids, I can try starting playing like an instrument. Like, it was just like, for me, I just saw, ooh, there's so much I could do. So there wasn't this like, oh, what am I gonna do now? I didn't have that feeling. I was more this like curiosity of, wow, there's so much I can do.
Beautiful to listen to. Hampus, what changed since you took the decision, or since you put your feet on the ground and started working? And you can answer that, of course, personally or also professionally. What happened since that transition time, I just want to call it, or is that transition time still ongoing? You may want to answer that in any way.
Yeah, I guess that's semantics at the end of the day. But no, I think I grew. I'm thankful for my whole life. I have no regrets. I'm really thankful for all the lessons I have had in the corporate world as well. Like, I've grown as a person. I've realized a lot of things. I've acquired a lot of skills. I've met a lot of like amazing people. So I don't have any regrets in that sense. But when I did create this space, I think the one thing was that I gave myself more time to actually connect with myself. I don't think I did that much the first 35 years of my life. Like, I did all this personal development, I did meditate, but there was never space really. I went from doing, meditating, doing. When I had meditated, I went back to doing. So now I actually created space of, I can do nothing. I can just be. Like, I invited being into my life, I think, really for the first time, instead of doing something. So yeah, that's probably the one thing that pops up where I feel a lot of gratitude for having made that decision, or the universe presenting that for me, just being. And I think I leveled up in many ways. I leveled up in contentment. I leveled up in joy. I leveled up as a human being. I became a nicer husband. I became a nicer father, better friend, better son, better citizen. So I think I leveled up on all aspects when I created space enough to connect with myself, understand more what happens actually to me when this situation occurs. Not like analytically, if I'm presented with this challenge, I go about this to solve it, but also, but what happens? Listen in, stop. Yeah, that was the main thing that happened after making that shift.
What happened maybe also to your, let's call it, contentment? So you were earlier saying that you lived a happy life, maybe even a content life, but after this decision being made, and after walking your first steps, and now walking all the steps that you have walked since, what happens to your inner feeling of contentment? Has that intensified? Have you calmed down as a person, that you know exactly where you are is the right spot? What comes to mind?
It's hard to, I think contentment and happiness is a hard thing to kind of put a number on or compare over time. It's a tricky one. But the one thing that does come up when you ask me that question, which I'm really glad you did, is that I think I've been content and happy so much of my life that I actually started to get more interested in the other strong emotions experience of life. I'm not seeking happiness and contentment. That is within all the time with me. So I'm more seeking sorrow, grief, like fear. I'm seeking all these, like, I see like the wide variety of strong emotions and experiences that we can have as a human being is that's phenomenal. Like, what an invention. If indeed simulation theory is correct, what a great job someone made. Like, for us as humans to be able to experience all like this wide facet of emotions and experiences. So I think I'm more still to this day, I'm more curious in the other parts. I'm not saying I'm like done with contentment and joy. Sure. I think it's awesome, but it's more rewarding actually when I allow myself to feel sorrow, or I allow myself to feel abandonment or betrayal. I'm stealing this with pride from someone who I can't remember who said it, but like, I'm not afraid of fear anymore. So like fear is I feel fear, but I'm not afraid of it. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice way to put and explain that. Like I want to step into fear because it's just there's so much sensations going on. You can learn so much in that space. So yeah, I think it just opened up the world instead of being more like living the world in this. Just there's so much more.
It's very interesting because I can relate to that a lot. And just when you mentioned that, like Osho talks about the difference of bravery and being unfearful. But also for me as a person, myself, I'm very happy, I'm very content, and I've always been in my life. When you talk about not having regrets, I can relate to that so much. And I would be very interested, maybe you can talk to that, or maybe you want to talk to that, if we talk about fear and anger and sorrow and basically like the whole array of different emotions. Maybe something has changed to the acceptance or also the capability to experience those emotions since you gave yourself the room to experience this room for being. Because maybe, and that is true for myself, so I'm speaking for myself, but being happy and being content is something that comes very natural. But then opening up to all the other different emotions, pleasant and unpleasant ones, is something that is absolutely needed for us as individuals to grow in life as well, is it not?
100%. I have had two very like clear examples with two key relationships for me, with my wife and my brother, have been more, I would say, in tune in that sense with a broader aspect of their life. I feel now, when I have experienced and let myself experience and feel all the emotions or more of the emotions, I have much easier of relating to others. Before it was sometimes troublesome for me to relate to others. Like, okay, I understand you're sad, but do this and you'll be happy instead, was kind of my approach to their sadness. Whereas I just want you to acknowledge me in my sadness. But I couldn't do that because I hadn't acknowledged myself in sadness. So yes, a big yes. Like I've seen myself grow so much into improving my capacity to relate to other humans, because we all are different, and you're different every second, really. And to be able to relate very well to the ones that are in the state of happiness, then you're kind of contained. So I think I have absolutely broadened my ability to relate to others by being able to relate better to myself.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that, Hampus. And I would kind of like to use that as a little segue and again talk about Ängsbacka and this very magical place where you and I met for the first time, and where you are now the general manager, I believe is the job title that you have at Ängsbacka. And I would be very interested, what is Ängsbacka for you personally, and why did you choose to come to Ängsbacka yourself?
I'll answer the latter part first. I don't know if it was that much of a choice. So 3-4 years ago, when I did open up, I had the more approach to life that I want to create space to see what wants to flow through me. Then things happened along these years, and Ängsbacka was one of those. Like I didn't plan or search out Ängsbacka. I knew about Ängsbacka, and I had a friend in Gothenburg who tried to get us to go. Like, you need to come to No Mind. It's awesome. Bring your kids, go. And we were like, yeah, we're gonna go. COVID came, like our kids slept really poorly, like tent for a week. Oh, we can't do it right now. Like we'll wait. So it never came to perfect timing. And then the CEO or general manager position popped up, and it's like, well, I swore kind of to myself, I will never become a CEO again. I'm going to choose life. I'm not going to choose a role. But then it's like, but it's Ängsbacka, and it's everything you stand for. And you have all the experience to serve. In like, there's like, it became pretty evident to me early in that process. You are the perfect person for this role right now. It's like, okay, so if synchronicity or the universe or whatever presented this union of like, okay, right now Ängsbacka have a need for this type of experience or this type of person, and that is me, then I need to be open to let that happen. And that is exactly what happened. I said, okay, you know what? I'll apply for the job. I'm not going to, of course, we're not going to move, from Gothenburg. We have 2 small kids. My wife had this great new job, which she really loved. And it's like, we're not going to move, but I'll send in the application because I'm curious. I like him. There's something. And then I had a first conversation over video, and I was so intrigued after that initial conversation. So, wow, what great questions they're asking. There's nothing like all the other interviews or like things that, because I've been interviewing hundreds of people, recruiting hundreds. These are great questions. These are real questions. They're not interested in all the bullshit. They're interested in me. Where am I? Where do I place myself in the world? It's like, okay. And they're like, you need to come visit us during No Mind, and we'll do another like round 2 of this recruitment process. Like, okay, I'll go. I want to go. I'm curious. And I went, and I took 10 steps to Ängsbacka, and there was this like pretty strong, energetic like injection in my body. It's like, what is this? And I usually don't feel that a lot. Like it's hard for me to feel subtle energies, but this was very palpable. Okay, there's something about this place. And then I kept walking, and then I came around a building, and there was like hundreds of people dancing in the grass, and an outside DJ, and the sun was shining, and I'm like, well, this is heaven. Have they staged this for me right now, or what's going on here? And right there and then it dropped crystal clear for me that, okay, I should be here right now. But then there was still this analytical part of my mind saying, this can't happen because you have 2 kids, you're rooted in Gothenburg, your wife has this job, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, okay, I'm going to follow it. So I went home, and then my wife was super supportive and like, just keep going. You can say no at the end, like, yeah, we'll say no. And I knew I was going to get the job because I was perfect for the need, I think. And then it just kept going. And this, I've told this story so many times, and I get goosebumps every time. And I got the job offer, and then I went home, and I said it to my lovely wife, like, okay, so I did get the job offer. We have a week or so. They would like to know if we're interested or not. Like, let's not say no immediately. Can we just wait a few days? And she just stands there, listens patiently, and then she just walks over and smiles like with this little smirk, just opens the fridge and just brings out a bottle of champagne. I'm like, we're moving. What the hell is going on here? It's like Truman Show, kind of.
Nice.
What is this? And so it kind of just, I like that story because it anchors it for me that it happened. It wasn't like I made the decision. It was many things that kind of fell into place for this to happen. So it happened to me rather than I chose it, is the way I at least choose to look at it. So that's the first part or the second part of your question. And I believe the first one was, what has it personally done for me, right? Something in that.
What does Ängsbacka basically mean to you, or what has it done to you indeed? Like, you can answer that in so many different levels. Exactly.
Yeah. It has very much given clarity to that I have been given this abundance of joy, contentment, great traits, like I wake up every morning with energy. Like I have like, I'm very blessed in many ways. And for me, my entire life, I've been kind of just coasting on that, living a great life, but I haven't really been giving back. I've had this abundance, but I've kind of kept it to myself and my closest friends. So the past few years, it grew into me that, okay, you need to serve, you need to give back with this abundance. So what I did after, like, I quit this job or with as a CEO or as a general manager, I was like, okay, I want to work with humans, animals, or nature, and I don't want it to be not profit driven. So I applied for tons of jobs, like a dog walker, personal assistant. No one called me for an interview. It's like no one was interested. Like, is this a joke, or like you're not gonna stay more than a week? Because I had this like really good CV,
for sure,
resume. But then I got this job as a in-house substitute high school teacher, and that was so rewarding. And I did that for some time. And it felt great to start like, I'm influencing these kids,
Beautiful.
hopefully for the better, for them to like, it was so rewarding. But there was this growing feeling in me that there's more for you. Ängsbacka came, and since I came here, it's been just anchoring more and more every day that you have been blessed with this gift of abundance in many, many ways. You can actually serve in a good way. You can actually impact. You can use that gift for the better of the world. That is something that Ängsbacka has given me clarity on what I should be doing in my life. Now, I should be giving back. I should be in service. I have so much to be thankful for. Spread that. I have so much love inside of me, so much joy, so much energy, so much vitality. Good. Be in a place where you can share that. You know, don't keep it to yourself. That I'm very thankful for Ängsbacka, because it's a place where you can really give back here if you want. So yeah, very thankful for that platform for me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Hampus, for sharing that. I can definitely confirm that you have this energy and this giving back, and that there is this abundance. And it's just so beautiful also to be in your presence, physically, but also now in this digital room, of course. And I can just see that you speak from your truth. And Hampus, I would be very interested. Earlier, you said that there was just such great alignment between what Ängsbacka stands for and what you stand for. And I would be very interested in what is it that you and Ängsbacka stand for, and what is this alignment? What is that comes to mind?
Yeah, I remember when I was in the early phases of this recruitment process, I of course did my research. So like I started really looking into what Ängsbacka is and what it stands for. And it's like, okay, great. It's a non-profit organization. It's member driven. So there's everything gets reinvested into the cause, the vision, and it's more of a movement than an actual like organization. It's here for a reason. So like the vision in itself for me is what made this like clear alignment. Okay, when I read the vision, this speaks very true to me. And essentially says, I see it as two. Of course, there's always interpretation when there's word, you know, there's a limit to the possibility of humans to see things the exact same way. But for me, it's two main parts. One, it's a place where you can explore what we are beyond thoughts, concept, and ideas. And that for me is just so true. Like, okay, what's beneath, what's beyond? And I've been on that journey personally since like I was 25. Yeah. This identity Hampus, that I'm pretty clear what that is, but what's beneath? You know, when you find these moments of complete serenity and silence in meditation, you connect to something that's impossible to like explain with words. When I did sports, I can get into these flow states where my brain isn't, or at least the watcher of the brain isn't, that's not going on. It's just happening. And I am taking in pieces of information and making immediate decisions that I couldn't be doing if like I actually try to think about it. Come into this like flow states where I am. So there's multiple ways of, and same with psychedelica, coming in with this like to be able to connect with nature in a way that's just there's no thoughts like, don't forget to buy milk tomorrow, and like, you know, these distractions. Is just clear and you're just there with something. So there's so many ways to tap into whatever is beyond thoughts, concepts, and ideas. And I just love that pursuit. I think at the core of it, that's what's gonna like save humanity. Like if we can actually touch into what we are beyond all these constructs, that's where we will find like peace. So that very much resonates with me, that first part. And then the second part of the vision is to be a source of inspiration for the world of how you actually can create the life you desire on this earth. Sustainably, in balance, in harmony with each other, with the earth that we inhabit. So for me, it's like, yes, it's awesome. It's this personal journey to find yourself and your true nature. And by that, we change the world, but it's also the expressive part of it, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's not only like your own journey and then it organically happens, but it's also the will to let's show the world, let's be an inspiration of how you can live in community, how, you know, the American nuclear family model applied to 7-8 billion people just won't work. So we need to find new ways. And I love that Ängsbacka not only wants to do the personal in-depth exploration, but it also wants to show the world how we can do things. So I love that it's both. That's what really aligns with me. So it's not only my personal journey, it's like that and this. So that's the core part of it for me.
Would you argue that the world needs more places like Ängsbacka, or more community life, more places where this transformation, this inner transformation, and then out of that, the outer transformation can happen?
Absolutely.
Mm.
I think it's necessary. I think for the world to transform into a 2.0 version of itself, I think we need everything we can get. So I think we need the inner transformation, the outer transformation, structural transformation. I think we need everything at once, you know. So yes.
And also, Hampus, would be very interested, now that you are very active in Ängsbacka and you've been around for quite some time, going back to your group of 9 other friends, or your group of 10 friends, how many times have your friends come to Ängsbacka or worked on the modalities that are gone through at Ängsbacka? How is that direction going for you as a group of friends?
It's still a direction, I would say, in that sense. But I think many of us, because we're approaching 40, most of us, because we're kind of like the same age group. I also see that a few of us have kind of like reached a point where, okay, I've done 5 vipassanas now. I've done all this shadow work. I'm a pretty whole human being, almost pivoting back into just living instead of like trying to better oneself. So I see a few of us are like, okay, I have 2 kids now. I found a job which I think I feel content with, and I contribute somewhat to the world, and they're just kind of being. Not all of them have the same. Few of them are pretty much where I am at. I want to expand into like more service for the world and want to follow their dreams more. So it's kind of like almost two groups making like, I'm gonna take a right here, I'm gonna take a left here. So it's kind of, the group is more so disintegrating on a physical level. You know, I moved here, someone moved there. We're all kind of like, moving apart. But from a heart standpoint, we're still like very tight knit, and the love is still there. Yeah, so I'd say it's different in different turns.
Have some of them been around for a festival, maybe this summer or the summers prior?
Yeah, quite a few. They've been to like the yoga festival, dance festival, No Mind. They've been around. Midsummer. Yeah, quite a few of them. And more will come also. Most of us have kids, so it's like this planning thing to make things work. But a lot of them have a high interest of what's going on here, because neither of us had been to Ängsbacka before. Few of us knew about it, but I was kind of the first to make the leap. And one of our friends moved here, so actually lives here. So there's this little movement into this.
Beautiful. Hampus, let's use that as a little segue and talk about what is actually happening at Ängsbacka. You just mentioned a couple of festivals. Like the last summer, or in most summers, there's the Midsummer Festival, there's the No Mind Festival, there's the Yoga Festival, there is the biggest Tantra festival in Europe, if not the world, and there's a Sexability Festival. And then if the festival season, which runs roughly 2 months throughout the summer, ends, there's many courses. And I would be very interested in, how do you personally attend those festivals? Maybe let's start with the festival season. And where do you also see the benefit of people coming to Ängsbacka, and what happens to the people going through a or multiple festivals in Ängsbacka? What is it that they reflect back to you? What is the feedback that you receive? And maybe what is also the driving force that you do what you do?
Yeah, much to touch on there. There's both this, okay, every festival has its own flavor, its own life, but it's also it's also Ängsbacka, festival summer. There's a red thread across it. So there's so many ways to experience Ängsbacka. You might want to come as a participant for one specific event. Like I want to go to No Mind. That's where I feel the calling. Or you come as a full summer like volunteer, and you stay here throughout all festivals and in between, and the build-up phase and the takedown. Or you take a team lead role. You actually just like you come into serving the other thousands of people that come through. So there's so many different ways of experience it, and I think depending on which one you pick, you will get somewhat of a different experience, but also you will have the same baseline. I have a horrible analogy that I keep using because it's like it explains the picture for me, but I see Ängsbacka as this like gas station for love. Like you come here and you just fuel up, and then you leave out to the world and you just spread the love, and then when you feel it's like getting a little bit too low, people come back just to fuel up again. So that I think is something that's like a common denominator. There's just like this space that's created here because we're a community all year long, because we run courses and festivals throughout the whole year, and we also have an intentional community. So we're like almost 70 people at a minimum, and the space that is created is so different from, I would say, the rest of the world, or at least the normal world, in that sense that it's very open. It's a different way of relating to each other. Everything is kind of okay. Emotions are being expressed. You can be much more your authentic. It's easier to be your authentic self. It's a great place to start like taking down the walls of like these identities, filters that you built up, and actually come closer to who you really are. So I think the more time you spend here, the more likely you are to go into a process of shedding these constructs and get closer to yourself. So I think a lot of people leave here feeling a lot more joy, but also a lot of people leave here with processes that have started. You know, it's not like, oh, I go in with this process and do it for 5 days, and then I just go back to my life. A lot of people, they leave with this like understanding about themselves, or feeling, or a motivation about working with something, or improving, or growing, or exploring. So I think those are the main common denominators. Then of course there's anything like there's life here. It's flirting, it's connecting. It's like some people find their partners. It's some people find like horrible things, traumas in themselves that change them. So like it's the facet of life that happens here in a very, I would say, like it's life on steroids. It's like a lot at the same time. So I think wherever you are is going to determine what you take with you when you leave from here.
It certainly has the capacity to shake things up quite a bit, and then finding love, finding trauma, finding all this authenticity definitely does have the potential to change and transform. And I think this is also one of the amazing contributions that Ängsbacka does to the world, is it helps literally thousands of people each summer to go through their transformation, whatever that means. Maybe not buying normal milk, but organic milk, or maybe quitting their 7-digit job and focusing on giving back to servicing, right? I think there's so many different components, so many different things that can really mean. But I think Ängsbacka has a transformative effect on pretty much everyone who walks in, and that is true for people who come for a day, that is true for people who come for a festival or for a summer, or who stay for a year or 3. I think there's just this massive transformation, which can be very small transformations and which can be really big transformations.
Yeah, you're completely right, and I'm very fascinated about that phenomena, because this place has been around for 25 years, and the people get exchanged. You know, you come here, you volunteer for a few months or a few years, and all people change, but the core remains. It's this like Ängsbacka magic, which is referred to. It's just here. It's embodied in the space, in the energy, in the ground, in the buildings, and people do come and co-create that space, but it still remains this immensely powerful energy of transformation, which I think is just it's amazing to witness in myself, but also in others around me. So it's very special what Ängsbacka is, and I absolutely think that the world needs more of these types of, let's call it, containers. Because I think one key element why it is such a transformational space is because it's such a safe container.
Yes.
People consciously and subconsciously feel safe here to actually go into something that they might be consciously or subconsciously afraid of stepping into in the outer world. I can't be this vulnerable right now because I have to do my job, or I have all this stuff. I don't want to go down to the grocery store crying. I don't want people to, like, there could be any explanation. Here, it's just such a safe container to just, there's an invitation all the time to just like step into it. If you need it, if this is your calling, if this is your time, step into it. Burst of letting yourself feel joy or happiness or dancing or like expansiveness. Or if it's like, I'm going to go into the trenches of the deep in myself. It's all a safe space to do that. And there's so much support. Everyone is there for each other all the time. And we have these during festivals when we're like vast amount of people, like 1,000 people on site at the same time. We have big teams that are there, like emotional support teams that are there for these processes. So it is a very cool place for a transformation that individual needs and the world needs at large. So yeah, I would love to see, of course there's other spaces similar, but I would say the more the merrier. And that's the lovely part about this like movement. And one of the main differences, which I love personally around working in this environment versus the corporate environment, if someone else would do the same thing as we do better than us, we won't see it as, oh shit, a competitor. It would be like, awesome, great job. How can we learn? How can we co-create? Rather than, let's keep our secrets here. So patents, like it's just a different environment. We're all here for the better of the world. So cooperation is so much more fun than competition.
Amen to that. No, definitely do agree. And another thing that also came to mind when you talk about safety and this energetic field at Ängsbacka, which is wild, which is very, very strong and very present. And everybody says that, but then you go there and you actually feel it. And it's so impressive. It's so nice. It's so wonderful how it fills people with joy and with authenticity. And it's also this, for me at least, it's an honest and authentic safety to be whatever you are in that very moment. And it's not that safety that is being created by putting up your walls or your masks or not going out or not creating and sticking to all those different rules and norms that society or whoever may have crafted and created so that you stay safe along those lines. No, this is really the safety to be who you are. And I think, as you said, sometimes there are vast amounts of people, thousands of people around. And if so many people behave in an honest and authentic way or try to do that, it just creates this magical, energetic feeling that you have around Ängsbacka. So really a recommendation for each and everybody, to check it out for a festival, a course, a summer, a year, whatever the experience really might be. And I also really resonate a lot with what you say about cooperation and co-creation. It's just so much more fun than competition, than seeing, okay, there's another festival in course center, maybe even in Sweden, maybe even in the same district. Well, if so, then nice. How can we learn together? How can we create together? How can we build something together, right? I think this is just the beauty of making this transformation happen and helping each other out in a way as well. I mean, I've met people in Ängsbacka from all over the world, right? And you meet people from different communities, from different course and retreat centers, you meet different workshop leaders and so forth, and people are here for a similar reason. And then you have different interpretations or different ways on how do we live that out, right? Some people start doing that in Portugal, some people do that in Sweden, some in Nicaragua, some wherever that may be, right? And you can do that with 20 people, with 50 people, you can do that with retreats, you can do that with festivals, you can do that with permaculture community. There are so many different interpretations of how we do that, but we enable each other and we help each other to grow and to learn how to do it in the end.
There's this thing in which also like really caught my eye in the beginning of my relationship with Ängsbacka, in like the vision mission statement of this place. it actually has a paragraph that says something in the ballpark of Ängsbacka wants to work with other organizations or initiatives that aligns with the vision. So it actually is like written into the vision statement that we are for cooperation as long as it aligns with our vision, which is a hugely broad vision. So essentially what I see, there is written proof for me that we should be cooperating with others. And I really think this is like a monumental thing. We have based our way of structuring our whole society and our whole world, essentially, especially the Western world, on this false kind of narrative of scarcity. And scarcity feeds competition, because if I don't get that bread, I will starve. So I have to get it before someone else. Like if there's scarcity, you will create this competition. If you rewrite this narrative, which is a hard thing to do for a world society, but not impossible. Oh, what about a narrative of abundance? Oh, I have this bread. I would happily share that with you because there'll be more bread. Then you're actually feeding a culture of cooperation. And I think that's the like if you look at the more long term, how we kind of evolve as a species or as a planet, we need to rewrite the narrative of the base of everything we create. So like all the institutions, corporations, everything rests on this false kind of narrative of scarcity. And of course, then they're going to be self-sustaining that narrative in itself. So if the narrative goes away, the institutions like the banking cartel or all the education system, all that will also wither away, and something else will come in and replace that actually serves the new narrative. So I think it starts with a new narrative. And to find that narrative, I think it's very hard to just with your mind understand, yeah, that makes sense logically, theoretically. Let's make that shift. I think it also has to, yes, that's great, but it also has to come from within. You have to really, really feel that is true. We have abundance. Because if you don't really believe it, if you don't feel it, you theoretically want to believe in it, it's not going to happen. Change is not going to come. So that's why I love this, again, coming back to the Ängsbacka vision. You have to anchor it in yourself. You have to find truth beyond thoughts and concepts. And then it's like, I am happy. I am enough. The world is fucking great. It's like, what a thing. What an invention. Life in itself. What an experience. Like the beauty that is here. Like the beauty in everything. If you can find that, then the narrative is abundance. You don't need to logically explain it. You know it. You feel it. It's there for you. And then if enough people are in that space, change will come naturally, organically.
Which for me is the reasoning why the inner and the outer transformation are necessarily the same, because you need both components, right? You need to feel it and you need to be able to understand it. And yeah, Hampus, maybe this is a good time to also acknowledge you for everything that you do and rewriting the story and creating a new narrative and sharing this with the world. And I would be super interested, Hampus, you talk about the culture of cooperation, and we've also talked about community and community life, and that there is a year-long intentional community in Ängsbacka itself. And community life is just very different to a life in Göteborg or in London or in Amsterdam or in Berlin, whatever you want to call it. And I would be very interested to understand also your personal experience a little bit. And maybe we can start with, what are the benefits, or what do you take away personally from living in a community setting or being part of a community? What is it that makes you content being part of a community?
I have had like bits and pieces of community aspects in my adult life. Both my wife and I are very much like people persons, and also our like deep longing is for for community. That was very evident very early. So we have created these small, like the group of like 10 friends or whatever, five of them got kids at the same time. And during summers, we usually like create a mini community during a week or two, where we travel somewhere, a big place, and we live together, we cook together, we take care of each other's kids. And so we've had the aspects of community prior to coming to Ängsbacka, and it's so valuable because you have like, just like from the parenting aspect, I think paints the picture really well for me. A child will not become a great citizen of the world if you only have two main archetypes that you try to imitate, because that's what we do as humans. You look and you imitate. Like you have one version of a man and one version of a woman, if that's the partnership. That's not how you like create a diverse, nuanced human being. That like, you don't fit into the version of what a man is because you are not like my dad. Distance, separation is created. So what I think one of the things that community brings is it takes a village to raise a child. I think that's one of the best like statements. It really does, because then you have like, oh, it's actually a man can cry and a man cannot cry in the exact same situation. I'm okay. Whatever I am, I'm okay. So like I think community creates a sense of I'm good as I am. Whereas comparing to your mom or your dad or both, I'm not exactly as my mom or dad, then I'm not good enough. I just think it's like, I think we create more whole beings, more connected beings, more diverse, more nuanced, more accepting beings by living in a community. I think that's one of the main things about community. And of course, very, very much on my mind because I have two small kids. So those weeks where we created those mini communities, it was so nice to see when my oldest son in particular did something he wasn't allowed to do or supposed to do. I have a default way of dealing with that. It was so nice to see one of the other parents deal with it in a different way and see how he reacted. Oh, I didn't get a firm, no, don't do that, son. I got a, why did you do that? What did you feel that made you like, it's just like, it just broadens and expands ways of seeing and relating to the world for the kids. And that was just so beautiful for me to see. And that like birthed this like desire to like, okay, more community. So it's that part, like it's more the, I guess the personal, intrapersonal part of it, aspect of it. But then it's also the like environmental and ecological, like which I said before around, we can't apply the American nuclear family model to 7-8 billion people. It's just not going to work. We need to find new ways. And it's like the way Ängsbacka, for instance, works with food for me is just amazing. We have this project called Food Savings Project, where we cooperate with a few of the local or like semi-local stores, big stores in the region. They throw away tons of food. We go collect that and we incorporate as much as we can into the making of our food. The rest of it, we kind of supply. We have this program where we supply to the locals where they can come get food in exchange for like helping us out with the food savings project. So we actually supply food also for our extended community. The rest we use for composting or we give to the local pig farm. Like everything gets used. So like if one person did that on an individual scale, great. But if you do it on a big scale, then it actually makes a huge impact. So I think community also has this, like, you level up the impact of everything you do because it's just bigger. There's a bigger impact. Like the amount of kilos of wasted food that we actually do something with now. Like that's also an example of how structuring ourselves in communities and in larger groups, we just also can do a lot more things for the world.
What are challenges that come to mind when we talk about community life for you personally, maybe as a father, maybe as a member of a community, maybe as somebody who works in the community and lives in the community, anything that comes to mind?
I mean, I firstly have to kind of admit that we have a house like a few minutes outside the core community. So we have this ability to retreat. We do have a house where we're two families living together. So we are a mini community right outside the bigger community. So there's different community aspects, I guess. But I think, you know, that is needed for me in my role, not to get like completely swept away. I need time to just be a father. So I think that speaks to your question a little bit of the challenges. I'm the CEO or general manager here. I will always be the CEO and general manager here in everyone's eyes. It doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock and I'm with my kid. For them, I'm like, oh, now he's parent of his kid. He's the CEO. So it is this blending of a responsibility and a role and your ability to be not that role. So like same goes for, and I'm just one example, same goes for a lot of like the team lead and the key positions. If you're like a kitchen manager, you're always the kitchen manager. And you don't want to be the kitchen manager on every minute of the day. It's like when you blend personal life and like your kind of like work or contribution, that also comes with its downsides. But if you flip that again, that gives you a great opportunity to work with your boundaries. It forces you to work with your boundary setting and how you relate to stress, how you relate to saying no. So, you know, it's always this like a challenge is also an opportunity, always.
No, and I think, as you said, no, like it's also good to work on your boundaries and to be clear. Okay, I'm here for 5 days, or I'm here for 7 days. I'm here for whichever hours, but I also find ways to retreat and be the other positions that you hold in life, being a father, being a husband, being a man, and just being by yourself, right? I think it has so many different layers and components. I would be very interested, you talked about it a bit when we talked about the food savings and also about the ecological perspective of Ängsbacka and sustainability. And for me, there are two big or major components if I think about Ängsbacka and sustainability. And the first one, in fact, is the sustainability in an ecological perspective. And the other one is sustainability kind of in a community aspect. So how do you create a community that is sustainability? And maybe we can look at them one after another. And if we talk about ecological sustainability, what role does that play in your personal life? Let's begin there.
If I haven't ended up being the general manager for Ängsbacka right now, I would most likely be running a course center that was regeneration permaculture based. So me and one of my absolute better friends, same guy that I talked about before earlier in this conversation that kind of opened some doors for me. We've been speaking for 5 years now around, because he's also in the same, like, I would say, space as me. He wants to create something. He wants to expand. He wants to give more. He also has a lot of abundance. So we were talking about, okay, let's buy land, let's make it regenerative. And how that was the core of it. And then like, okay, how do we fund it? How do we make it actually like economically sustainable to follow that dream? He's a yoga teacher, like we have all these things. Okay, we're good facilitators. Let's make courses to kind of like make it work. And we would have a smaller community. So like my heart and my mind was in the direction of, okay, this is how I contribute to the world. So when I was given the opportunity to take on this role, and Ängsbacka also has that kind of like alignment, wow, what an arena to be able to play that dream out. So there's been a lot of, like, for me personally, but also for the organization, I think we're shifting more and more and more focus over to what we talk about a lot as regeneration. I mean, sustainability, it's just words that try to encapsulate a huge thing, right? So I think we have shifted strategy somewhat in the way we operate around our land. Let's focus not on maybe yielding crops that can support our food the next year or two, but more so, how can we create a thriving ecosystem over the course of 10, 20, 50 years? So I like that we're shifting more long term. And I see also during my like 8-9 months here that a lot of the people that flow through here, that come in as volunteers or members or team leads or whatever, participants, they care more and more about these questions. So it feels like there's like this overall shift in humanity towards that. And of course, Ängsbacka needs to be, it's an ever-changing place. It has its core, this Ängsbacka magic, but it also needs to follow, well, the waves of the world. And I think this ecological movement it's going to get stronger and stronger. And Ängsbacka, if we want to be relevant, that needs to be a core part of what we do. And I love the fact that there's this a thing called GEN, a movement called Global Eco Village Network. And we were awarded to host the gathering together with them here at Ängsbacka. So it's going to be like probably 1,000 people on site for a week, just focusing on those questions and how we can explore community and usage of land and all that. So it's also nice to see how the universe works with you. You create an intention, you open up for something, and then all of a sudden, boom, it drops down like the perfect gift to kind of propel that movement. So I think there's a lot of things at work. And I really also want to comment, I really like the way that because it's a key, I think, for people to understand that when you talk about sustainability or regeneration or whatever name you want to put towards it, it's not just like nature. It's all the different relationships. It's human to human, human to animal, animal to land, human to land, and everything in between. Like it's how do you create a planetary sustainability, like a system that actually works over time? Humans as a species, we're like adolescents. We're maybe 12, 13 years old. That's like the way I see it. Like we have some ability to think consequence and causality, but very narrow in time. So there's some consequence thinking like you have when you're adolescents, but you also make super foolish things because you don't have the capacity to actually think that far ahead. So we're very young. We're making a lot of mistakes, and it's like that's fine as long as we learn from them. And I see, at least, and maybe it's just my own narrative that I'm painting a picture that I want to see, but that's the one I believe in. It feels like we're starting to think a little bit more long term. You know, we have all these systems of presidential elections, 4-year. Like, you can't make a long year plan if everything is about getting reelected in 4 years, which most Western world societies are organized. It's like we have to think longer. We have to broaden the horizon a little bit. That's where I think regeneration and permaculture is such an important like building block, like understanding of like, let's think long term, guys. Let's not just think about how can we make the most use of this land for us next year. That's scarcity narrative again. Switch over to abundance. Like, how do we create more abundance over time? So yeah, I think there's so much to say on this topic, but
I really much resonate with that. Thank you very much for elaborating on that, Hampus, on the ecological perspective. And the other one where you also partially touched ground already, that is this community sustainability. And I would be very interested if there are certain components or certain tools or a certain vision or anything really that comes to mind if we talk about the sustainability or the longevity of a community. What is it that you focus on? What is it that you also want to focus on going forward with Ängsbacka? Whatever comes to mind, really.
What comes to mind for me is pretty clear. Like, we're all humans, so we all have the same basic needs. We need to feel safe. We need to feel seen. We need to feel that we're part of it. You know, a lot of it comes from, I think I use it a lot in my head, at least when I see behaviors playing out on individual or group level, that we are still biologically tribes people. You know, we've been living in for, let's say, 200,000 years to just have a starting point of where we're like Homo sapiens sapiens, where we lived in bands of 50 to 150 people in, like, let's say the savannah in Africa as an example. The main important thing for survival was not to be an outcast. If you were outcast from the group, you would die. I think that has shaped so much of what it is to be a human. We need to be seen. heard, feel that we're part of it. If you're not a part of it, you will perish and die. So most of our basic needs is just to like, am I a part of this? Am I a part of the gang? Like, do people like me? Like, am I safe? So I think we need to go back to the roots of like actually giving that baseline to people. So if everyone, this is a dream, if everyone in this community feels completely safe, seen, and participatory, they feel active, they feel like they're valued, I have something to contribute with, there's purpose, all these things. If you have those like baselines covered, then magic happens. Then creativity, like then people don't have to chase that. They will instead be like vessels or conduits of creativity and exploration. And then, I mean, we can do anything. You know, sky's the limit. There's no limit to what we can do here. So I think that from a sustainability standpoint, in terms of humans, we need to be able to create the baseline needs of like psychological needs and physical needs of every individual, and then the rest will sort itself, I think.
Beautiful. No, I very much do agree. Thank you very much for that, Hampus. And I have a couple of questions that I ask each and every podcast guest of mine. But before we go there, you already mentioned the Gen Network event next year. Is there anything else that you would like to hint our audience towards to? This can either be a website, this can be the different events, this can be courses, anything that you would like to express or share or really pinpoint, hint people at. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience before we go for those final 3 questions?
Yes, there is. It's something that came pretty early in my relationship with Ängsbacka, that Ängsbacka is awesome. It's a great place that creates magic, like many of the things that we already have covered in this conversation. Like, all people that flow through here are individuals. Like, thousands of people every year come through here, and they like fill their hearts up with love, with tools to transform everything. They're all coming as an individual, like a person. It's my own money and my own choice. So we're actually like, I'm thinking impact. So we have a big impact on the world. You know, the ripple effects from these thousands spreads to tens of thousands. Like, it's a great offering that Ängsbacka does to the world. But for me, we're missing a big portion of the potential impact that we could be making. We don't have any products that is for the public sector, like organizations, NGOs. We don't have any products that go and direct themselves aimed towards corporations. That's a huge world. So I think for Ängsbacka to be able to expand its footprint and its impact, we need to create products and start interacting and supporting the development in the right direction with the public sector and the corporate world as well. So that's the thing I would like to plug, that like watch this space. Like, we're in the making, in the starting pits of inviting those audiences into this world that we create here at Ängsbacka. And I think, you know, just an example, if you get a management group of a large corporation here to spend like a week here or 3 days or whatever, if one of those individuals picks up this like magic of being a little bit more authentic, or learning a tool and how to relate more consciously with someone, that trickles down to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people in that organization. So by changing one individual's perspective, you have immense ripple effects. And then if you look at like just numerically, if Ängsbacka is then like changing the world through thousands of people here that then talk to thousands of people, great. But the multiplier effect in the other arena, you can actually be talking about hundreds of thousands of people. So if you're actually looking at making a change, then we need to step into those arenas. and support that development. And that's something I'm really passionate about doing in the future. So yeah, that I felt like sharing, because that's a strong like dream of mine to be able to create that.
And it's a dream to come true. I'm very certain, and I'm very sure about that. It's just such a massive lever, as you said, right? So you plant a seed in one person, and that person can go and take the seed to hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people. So I wish you definitely all the very best. I'm very confident that this will happen. And Hampus, you already talked a little bit to that, but the first of my final three questions really is, what is it that makes you hopeful?
That love is everywhere, it's just there. It's about your ability to actually see it and connect with it. Like all the ingredients to create paradise are right here. That makes me hopeful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And indeed, love is there. We just have to tap into that. And you talked about a couple of friends and important figures and role models in your life. But if I were to ask you, who are your mentors and whom do you personally look up to? What's your answer?
It changes over time. It's kind of like, where am I right now? Like the same words, the same message can just come and be like, oh yeah, that's interesting in one timing. But 2 years later, the exact same thing can be like mind-blowing, because you were in the space where that had alignment. So I don't have any like particular like idols, mentors that been consistently like, that's my guy, or that's my person. There's been, in different facets of my life, very impactful people. Like Eckhart Tolle was one at a certain time in my life where I started exploring around ego and identity and true self. Like he was very, very impactful for me. Alan Watts was another one, in the way you can actually like look philosophically at life. Right now, Zach Bush is a big influence on especially the eco part. I really cherish his work around soil, which is one of the fundamentals of actually life on this earth. Yeah. So that work, and also his ability to, which I think is a like, I would see that as probably, if we ever do a podcast again soon, that could be one of the topics, like this intersection between spirituality and science, which is super, super interesting. And Zach Bush, among many other people, plays that really well. I think being acknowledged in one of those areas, but moving over to the other, acknowledgement creates a bridge between these two worlds to coexist. And one plus one is 5 instead of 2. He does that elegantly, of having this like acknowledgement and from coming from a scientific background, and then moving into the spiritual aspect and connecting those two. So he's a big inspiration for me right now. I also, Charles Eisenstein is also a person which I love listening to, and the way he expresses things. So yeah, those two right now, I would say. And there'll be another one in a year or two. So many fascinating people out there that, are just beautiful souls.
Absolutely, and beautifully said. As you say, most of the time those bridges do not connect only 2 points, but rather 5 or 10 points, and we need to exactly create those bridges. And at the same time, it's also like, a moving process of whom do you associate with, or whom do you look up to in this very moment, and it can change, and that's also perfectly fine. You don't need this one guru for life, or this one person that you always follow, but it can change, and that is perfectly fine, because life is change. And I also very much liked how you hinted at future podcast episodes also very soon. I'm very much open for that, of course, Hampus. And the third and final question that I have for today's podcast anyways is a rather hypothetical one, and I call it the 3 truths. So Hampus, I would like you to imagine that you're traveling all by yourself in space, and that is actually for quite some time. Could be a couple of months, even could be a couple of years. And after all that solo travel, you encounter a human-like species. The thing is that they can only process 3 facts or 3 truths about humanity before they decide whether or not they want to get to know us. What is it that you tell them?
Wow. What a fun question. I had this thing a few years ago where I asked like everyone I knew, if you could choose, if you went out in a spaceship by yourself, you had everything you needed to survive, like you could pick how long you would be out there for. How long would you pick? Like the answers ranged from a few hours to like years. So I've been in that space thinking about like who would I become? What would I be? Like connecting back to like the Ängsbacka first part of the vision, like what are we beyond concept and thoughts and ideas? You know, that's a space, like an incredible space to create that, like to do that journey. Where would I end up at, and what would I communicate to? Wow. The one truth is just it's again love.
Yep.
Love is transpiring everything. Love is a building block of what we as humans and our planet is, probably the universe at large. So I would assume that whoever I'm speaking to is just like, yes, that's us too. You know, it's just, and whatever love represents, you know, that's also like a very intangible concept. What is it? I don't know. I can't explain it. I just know when you act out of love, when you're in love, when you feel love, when you receive love, it's a pure feeling. And if it's pure, it's true. So for me, everything is love. So that's one. I don't know what the two others would be, because it's all the same, you know. I mean, there's these eternal truths like love, you know. That's an internal truth that I can't see how that ever could, like, no, it's not true anymore. Like, that is just what it is. Then there's a few truths, I think, which are maybe now, but might not be truths later. Like considering the impermanence of things. You're looking at eternal things, and you're looking at impermanent things. There's a few things that are true that I mean, of course, if I'm trying to pitch an idea for these guys to come, like, please come and hang out, you know, then you might want to pitch like positive things, so they would be wanting to come and hang out. But like an actual truth is what I talked about before, that I think everything is always constantly in motion. You know, we're not going to reach an end game ever. It's not going to stop and like, okay, we reached it. We're here now. This is how it is now. A truth is that everything is constantly changing. So that is a truth. And it's also a truth that we are most likely then in somewhere in that process where we are expressing destruction, beauty, and love at the same time. You know, there is a dream I think in many people's hearts and minds of paradise when we don't kill each other. There's no war, and like, I think that's such a interesting space, because nature has all those facets. You plant a seed, it grows beautifully into like a teenager, and then it blooms into a big tree, and then ripe fruits come out and leaves. Then they go down to the ground and they become dark and they mold and like they die. So like destruction is also part of everything. Life, that's such like that cycle. So like, yeah, beauty is true, but also destruction and death is true. That's, I guess that's could be the third one. Like it's true that things don't stay. The impermanence of things. The only thing constant is change itself.
Beautiful. Yeah, what I hear is love and this change, impermanence, movement, and the light and the shadow of things. And
Yes.
With that, Hampus, thank you so much for being a guest on the Just Another Mindset and for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And I'm already very much looking forward to many more of those interactions, recorded, non-recorded, as a friend, as a colleague, as so many things. And Hampus, if there's any final or last words for today's podcast episodes that you have for our audience, it's all yours.
Thank you so much to yourself. I really enjoyed this and looking forward to more myself. But yeah, if I have any like advice or things I want to express, it's like create space in your life to let life happen to you.
Mhm.
That was something huge for me, and I have a lot of people in my surroundings that do the same. Like if you create space, don't be afraid of the unknown. That's where the magic will happen.
Thank you so much, Hampus.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast and learn from it, please feel free to share this episode with a friend or two, and make sure to subscribe to the Just Another Mindset podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please use the next 10 seconds to give the Just Another Mindset podcast a rating, and know that you will help me to create more meaningful content like this, and also that it will help other people to find this content and get inspired as well. If there is any future topic or guest that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please let me know by leaving a comment on YouTube or sending a mail directly to contact@ishmaelwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything.